Welcome to an example of finding the inverse of a root function. So here it's written in kind of funny notation. Here's the way it'll look on your screen. It's a fifth root, and they want us to find the inverse function. Okay, so what are the two steps for finding an inverse function? Step number one, we switch or invert x and y. So this is y out here. Function values, f of x is always y. So x and y switch. So what do we have then? We have x on the outside and the fifth root of 5y minus 3 on the inside. Step 2, solve for y. In other words, get y alone. Okay, so how are we going to go about getting y alone? Let me rewrite this here. We've got to do something. Here's, if it helps you, here's a wall of separation, and y is over here on the right side saying, I want to be alone over here. Get rid of all this stuff, you know? Get rid of this here and this here and this here so that I can be alone. That's our goal, right? Solve for y, get y alone. So how do we do it? Well, it's kind of like peeling an onion. We got to start on the outside and work our way in. So the first thing is we got to get rid of that 5. That 5 that's in the hook. How do we get rid of that? What's the opposite? We got to do the opposite. What's the opposite of a fifth root? It's a fifth power. And whatever you do to one side, you have no choice but to do the same thing to the other side, and then these cancel. The opposite of a root is a power. And so we get rid of a root by doing a power, and whatever we do to one side, we have no choice but to do the same thing to the other, right? We got to treat them the same. If they were equal before, right here, these are equal, and we treat them the same, right? We do fifth root on both of them, then they'll be equal afterwards. That makes sense. Called the principle of equality. It makes sense, doesn't it? If two things are equal and you treat them the same, they're going to be equal afterwards. So they were equal before, and I fifth rooted both sides, so they got to be equal afterwards. And what happens over here is these two cancel. That's the whole reason we did it, is because we wanted to get rid of that root. So what are we left with? 5y minus 3. Like that. Okay. So that got rid of the root completely. The hook, the root, everything. Now we're trying to get y alone. So what's our next step? Add 3 to both sides. So this will give us 5y is x to the fifth plus 3. Get rid of that. We're almost there. So last step to get y completely alone is to divide by 5. And boom, there it is. That's y alone. So that is our answer. This is the inverse function. That's the opposite. Notice it's the opposite of that original function, isn't it? These guys are opposites. You can just tell by looking at them. This is a fifth root. This is a fifth power. This has got a minus 3. This has got a plus 3. This is multiplied by 5. This is divided by 5. That's the inverse function. So that's how we find it.